It's time to rev up your chainsaws once again. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. This is a reward for Venom, per usual. And yeah, we reacted to the first one of these a while back, and my thoughts on it are basically like like it didn't really impress me for a movie that's so like well known and kind of legendary for horror films. I felt it was very underwhelming. It wasn't anything special. It wasn't really that bad in terms of like not just gore but also just like gruesomeness or scariness. And the thing is, a lot of people act like it's like this big scary gruesome thing, and it's not. It's actually very underwhelming in that regard, and kind of disappointing if I'm being completely honest. Um, and even for the time it came out, it wasn't anything special in that regard. Like, even if you account for the time it came out, it still feels very like meh. Um, there's a certain iconicness to the iconography of the Leatherface design and everything, and it's not like the movie was like terrible or anything. It just wasn't anything special. It was very bland and just kind of there, and like I didn't really care about any of the character deaths. Also, the character deaths were super boring. um the villains, just the family in general, I guess, like outside of Leatherface, none of them are memorable. They were just kind of there. It was just like one of those horror films that just felt like more of a prototype to slasher horror than an actual example of really good slasher horror. But there's a lot of people out there who will praise this to no end just because it's, popular. Because the movie is exceptionally popular and one of the most legendary names of horror, it's going to get praise no matter the actual quality. And of course, the quality of it's subjective. If other people really like it, that's fine. You're entitled to that. You don't have to agree with me. But I just feel like, not just for slasher horror, but for horror in general, like, watch almost anything else. Like, whether classic or modern stuff, it's like there's just so much better. There really is. It's not one I would recommend to people. Let's put it that way. It's not a horror movie that I would recommend. If someone asked me, like, recommend me 10 horror movies, this would not be in it. Honestly, it probably wouldn't be in a top 50. Maybe top 100, but that's only because I would have to think of 100 horror movies to recommend. And this might just be in there by default because of that. But yeah, so this sequel, I don't know anything about. I don't know like how it continues the story. If it continues the story, I don't know if it's a completely separate story or if it's its own thing. I don't know. I don't know what the story to this is. I The only thing I can assume is it still has to do with the family and Leatherface as the main villains. I think only one person survived the last one. I think there was only one survivor. Well, technically two, because I think the driver of the truck, like, But there was like the driver of the truck and the one survivor, and that was it, right? It's been a little bit, but I'm curious. I'm curious to see if this or any of the other sequels improve upon this formula, and I know there's like a remake or two for this as well, so got to take that into account. Because the concept is not bad. Like this backwoods cannibal murder family, it's like that can be done well. It's just you got to make them actually scary, and you got to make the deaths in this actually, impactful and interesting. Not to mention, you should probably make the characters who die at least somewhat likable. Because otherwise, if you're kind of cheering for their deaths, what's the point? You know? It's like, there's some people out there who prefer that because it's like, oh, then you don't have to watch characters you like die. And it's like, but that kind of makes the deaths more impactful when you like them. Because you don't want to see them die, when they do, it matters more. It's a bigger deal, and that makes the deaths alone more impactful, and especially if they're, creative, interesting deaths on top of that. So, yeah, hopefully it improves here. I don't know what to expect though, but hoping it's good. Um, we'll see. We'll see. Don't really got anything else to say, but what I will say is that there's a lot of great content on this channel. If you're just tuning in for this, or if you've been here a while, either way, a lot of great stuff to check out. Every Monday through Friday, we got a plethora of awesome shows that we react to. We react to also YouTube videos every Monday. Those are pretty much always just donation rewards that subscribers and viewers like you have suggested to me, but still react to one or more of those every week. On every Saturday or Sunday, we put up movie reactions. We record those during the week, upload them on the weekend, just so every day gets to have some reactions. And I'm also currently on Tuesdays and Thursdays going through Spider-Man 2 on the PS5. Been loving it so far. We just started, and yeah, it's looking to be a great game, a great playthrough. So hope you enjoy that as well. There's always something for everyone on the channel. Hope you find something you can enjoy, even if it's just some of these movies. That being said, thank you so much as always for tuning in. Let's get this going. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction because yes, we do redirect all of our reactions. The reason for this is just because of YouTube's copyright system being broken and not wanting to risk a strike or even having the channel terminated. I've dealt with that before. It's not fun. So to just circumvent that issue, I redirect all content to other sites. But on the plus side, that means everybody gets to see the full reaction. Nothing's behind a paywall. You don't have to subscribe to a Patreon. You get the full reaction for free. So check it out down in the link below, and then come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts. And not only will contain my thoughts on the movie and everything, but also spoilers to the movie. So I would suggest not continuing on after that point until you have seen the reaction, or at least have seen the movie before. But all of that being said, thank you so much, again, as always, for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, yeah, you see at one point, just to clarify something I was not 100% sure on, you see at one point, like, after, like, Lefty defeats Leatherface and everything, the chainsaw goes through the table and all and hits the father, he drops the grenade. Lefty, like, starts raising the chainsaws and celebrating. And then while you see Chop Top, apparently was his name, by the way, chasing the girl out, there's a very small very uneventful explosion behind them. That's like very. It was noticeable. I did notice it, but it was so uneventful. I kind of just didn't think much of it. But that was supposed to be the grenade going off, and from what we can gather, killing the grandpa, the dad, um, uh, Leatherface, and Lefty. It was so uneventfully shown. It was so just kind of boringly shown. It wasn't very clear. And maybe when making this movie, they just couldn't afford to do anything bigger than that or whatnot. But that it was very. It was just very weak in terms of showcasing that. It just wasn't very clear in how it was presented. And another thing that I was a little confused on, when Lefty saw like the corpse in the wheelchair as like brother or whatever he said, it's like that was actually supposed to be the corpse of Franklin from the first movie. The brother who had been, there was Franklin and his sister, and then their friends and everything. They were the victims of the first movie and all. Um, and Franklin like was the one in the wheelchair and everything. I did not put that together. I forgot about that aspect of things, and so yeah, I didn't put that together, and especially again because of the thing he like says brother or whatever. It was just it confused me in that regards. But I got the clarification after I looked things up. I just basically looked up the movie's synopsis to see. But yeah, so with those two clarifications, I'm just letting you know ahead of time for Venom or anyone else who wanted to correct me on that. I did catch those. I did get the clarification on those. If there's anything else that you want to clarify, though, feel free. That being said, thoughts on this movie, especially compared to the first, is that this is so drastically better than the first. It's kind of shocking. And the weird thing is, it almost comes across as a parody. Like the first feels very much like a classic slasher movie, has a lot of the same tropes, these dumb teenagers spending time together, cabin in the woods and everything, creepy cannibal murder family. It was very much standard slasher. This movie feels like a parody of the first, taking things so much further and crazier and wackier and very much goofier. It's silly. It's an absolutely silly movie. And it doesn't try to take itself too seriously at all. It feels like a parody. It feels like a joke film. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like a purposefully jokey film. It's ridiculous and dumb and stupid and out there. But it feels like that's the point. It's meant to be. It's intentionally stupid. And I don't know if that is what the tone they were going for was. But if so, then they definitely succeeded. Um, but the point is, I feel that kind of saved it. And kind of is what made it so much better than the first movie. The first movie took itself way too seriously and tried acting as if it were like this like great slasher film that was trying to like be like the next big thing. And the weird thing is people like praise it to high heavens and act like it's this big gruesome amazing thing. This movie is far more gruesome, by the way, than the first movie could ever have hoped to be. Um, hell, a single like thing from this was more gruesome than the first movie. I talked about that in the reaction. But it's not even just the gruesomeness. It feels more interesting. The first movie felt, and maybe it's just because of seeing these movies nowadays in the, early to mid 2020s, but it's like it feels very generic. There's nothing special about it. And that's not even necessarily comparing it to other slasher movies and everything. It just doesn't feel like they tried to make it interesting. The most interesting part of the first movie was the fact that one of the characters was in a wheelchair, which again I had forgotten about, ironically. Because the movie just left such a little impression on me that it's like even the most interesting part just kind of skipped my mind. But everything else was just so like bland. It's like they didn't try to make it unique or special or interesting. They didn't try to make it anything like fun or entertaining. Cuz like if and again, like you're seeing these characters in the first movie who are just hateable. They're all assholes. And it's like the only I think Franklin was actually one like the only character who was really like any good. And it's like he was the only death that you actually cared about. And like I said in the pre-thoughts, it's like, oh, some people will say like some people say it's good when you don't care about them because then you can just enjoy the deaths and everything. But again, I still feel like it makes more of an impact if you do like the characters, or at least have some characters you like. Because I mean, like in this movie, the first two victims at the beginning were just stupid teenage assholes. I didn't care about their deaths. It didn't make a difference to me because, there was nothing likable about them. And then you're introduced to like our main characters and everything. Um, and Stretch and LG are a lot more likable. LG's a little gross, like a little not even just the spitting thing, like even in some of the ways he talks to Stretch. But he's not as bad as he could be. Like I've seen a lot worse. He's okay, and Stretch is really likable, and then you have Lefty, who's at first you kind of get behind things, but then he just kind of goes crazy, and it's like, okay. And that's kind of part of the charm of just how insane and ridiculous and just off the wall this movie is, but I'll get into that. It's like the point is you actually have characters in this that you actually somewhat care about. With Stretch, at least, you actually really care about. She's genuinely very likable. And it's just that helps. It makes it feel like there's more tension. Because if the characters were just unlikable, then you wouldn't care. There'd be no tension. It's like, oh, just kill her. I don't give a shit. But no, because she's super likable and respectable and everything, you actually give a shit. You actually want to see her escape and are happy at the end when she does. And so it's like, it's really fascinating to me how different this movie is from the original in that regard. And you also have just the fact that, again, it went like balls to the wall crazy in this one compared to the first. I mean, outside of just Bill Moseley's manic performance, like everything about this was so like ridiculous and silly. The fact that she's charming Leatherface and everything. The fact of like the craziness and zaniness of the situations. Lefty going absolutely insane and just wrecking the place by cutting down all the support beams and stuff. There's a fucking chainsaw fight. Like, that's kooky. That is absolutely kooky. But that's what makes this movie actually very fun to watch. Because it's so silly. Because it's so crazy. And the pacing also helps with that too. The pacing is weird. Because it's like certain plot elements are kind of just dropped. Like there's those other cops who are just kind of like against Lefty being there and everything. Nothing ever comes to that. In fact, after that first scene, they're never seen again. Nothing with that is ever seen again. Oh, Lefty goes to see I'm getting the names mixed up now because the names are so weird. They're just like nicknames. Stretch goes to see Lefty at his at the hotel room or whatever the fuck it's supposed to be that he's staying at. I think it's a hotel. It's like a hotel, and that's where the chili cook-off is at the same time and everything. But yeah, she goes to see him, and it's like, oh, I don't want anything to do with this. This is he's just rejecting her and stuff. Like the scene is like what, not even 5 minutes. Just comes in, speaks to him, he rejects her, she leaves, and then it cuts to a completely different thing. Well, in the same hotel, but still, seemingly a completely different thing. And it's just like, that was like weird pacing and that weirdly handled. And it's like that's the case with a lot of this movie. A lot of things come in and don't come back. A lot of things just, there are some scenes that last a long time, and like the scene when Leatherface and her are in the room and she's charming him and everything. That scene goes on for a while, but then there's certain scenes that just like, oh, pop up, pop down, we're done, and it's like, what the fuck? Give me a chance to process here. And it's just, it's wild. I really just genuinely don't know how to express that any other way. It's wild and weird and kooky and crazy, and it's just one hell of a film. It's not like the best slasher film or anything I've seen. It's not like the best horror movie or anything. It's not even close. But it's a lot better than the first one because it's not afraid to take risks and go into obscenely weird territories. It feels like there's more of an actual like interest put in by the actors, the director, the writers. It just feels like this had more life and energy injected into it, and I feel that helps really make it stand out. The first movie did not have any energy at all, pretty much. So that's also a big difference there. But it makes me wonder now, because all of them are fucking dead. Literally the only survivor here was oh my god, I keep forgetting her fucking name because it's a stupid nickname. Stretch. It's like, why would I ever think to call her that? I keep forgetting her fucking name. I keep having to bring up my phone because I have the Wikipedia open just to remember her fucking name. Stretch is literally the only survivor in the end. Like, because here, the thing is, even if you want to imagine they somehow, like, survived the explosion that was literally right there on top of them. Like, they were already fatally wounded. Literally every member of the family got fatally wounded. The father, well, except the grandpa. But the grandpa was, like, already practically there anyway. The father got, like, got chainsawed in his nuts, and then the chainsaw fell through the table and sliced into his spine. It's like, dude is done. Plus, again, the grenade was literally right there on the ground next to him. He's dead as fuck. Lefty and Chainsaw, I almost said Chainsaw Man. Wow. Lefty and Leatherface were on top of the table. Leatherface had been literally impaled with his guts spilling out by a chainsaw. He's fucking dead. The explosion would just confirm that. Lefty's like on top of the table holding two chainsaws that are on when the explosion goes off. The explosion not only would probably kill him alone, but also, even if it didn't, he's going to drop the chainsaws and they're probably going to cut into him at least a bit. Possibly more than a bit. He's very dead. And Chop Top at the end there, like, got fatally wounded by Stretch and then fell to his death. He's dead. So there's like a third or maybe even a fourth movie in this series, and it's like, are they prequels? They've got to be at this point, right? Because they're literally dead. And I'm not counting like the remake and everything. Because obviously the remake is its own continuity. It's a remake. So I'm not counting that. I'm just talking like solely based on the original series. I could probably check, actually. Like I said, I have the Wikipedia still open. Franchise, here we go. So, there's the first one. The second one, there's number 3. There's The Return. And then you start the remake stuff. There's the 2003 remake, which was apparently by Michael Bay. What the fuck? There's Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning, which I don't know if that is like what part of the continuity that would fall into. There's 3D, there's Leatherface from 2017, and then there's a 2022 one, which is the brand new, well, not brand new at this point, but the newest one, and I think that's another remake. So, if the return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a part of the same continuity as the first 3, because the third one is literally called Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, so it's probably within the same continuity. But that and Return are probably, I would have to guess, prequels. 2003 reboots it. Beginning might be like a prequel to the 2003 one. And then I don't know about 3D or Leatherface. I don't know. I don't know exactly how it goes. Obviously, it's not that big a deal. That I don't really consider a spoiler. So if you want to clarify that, that's not a big deal. But an interesting little fun fact here with this. The first movie came out in October of 74. This movie came out in 86. This came out 12 years. Almost, like a couple months away from exactly. But we'll just say 12 years after the first movie. And it takes place 13 years after the events of the first movie. So the timing on that is actually almost perfect. It actually like works out pretty well. That was just a fun little thing I just saw there. So it actually worked out at the time, and that's a wild timeline there. 12 years it took to make the sequel. I wonder why it took so long. And then I think the third one is only a few years after that. Yeah, number 3 is in 1990, so that's only 4 more years after that. And then Return is in 95. So it's like that was definitely the biggest gap there. Because even the remake in 2003, that's not even 10 years after 95, so... Yeah, that was definitely the biggest gap there between any of these. I do genuinely kind of wonder. Oh, never mind. Okay, I actually found a continuity thing here. So, according to this, the first three, Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the 2022 one, are all in the same continuity. So the 2022 one's not a remake then. Okay. And then Leatherface. And then there's an alternate continuity, which is Leatherface, the first one, and 3D. So the first one is actually part of multiple continuities, which has happened with other things like the Halloween franchise. So Leatherface from 2017, the original 74 movie, and then Chainsaw 3D are all part of the Millennium Films continuity. And then there's the Platinum Dunes continuity, which is Texas Chainsaw Massacre The Beginning and the 2003 remake. So those two are completely separate from the 74 original. But the 74 one has two separate continuity. I like that the continuity listing is on here, actually. Okay, so that actually clears up that question. I'm not going to look up any other details, obviously, because I don't want any spoilers. But that is interesting. And that's pretty. That makes things pretty curious for me. Should I react to these in the order of release, or should I react to them in the order of the continuity? Like, should I finish out the continuity of the first one, then do the continuity of the second one, and then the third? How should I react to these at this point? Venom, you're gonna have to tell me if I should just do the release order or whatnot. Because you're the one who requested these movies, so I guess I would leave it up to you. But yeah, like I said, either way though, this movie was much better. It was much more entertaining, more fun to watch. I still don't think it's something I would watch a lot of. But let me check something real quick. There was one thing I was also still curious about that I was trying to remember what it said at the beginning. So let me check that. Because there was that scroll at the beginning that went over the events that happened in the first one. So I'm trying to find it here. Okay, it's going over the events of the original. Okay, let me check something. Sorry for all this. I'm trying to check something here because I want to make sure on something. Yes, okay. Okay. So, one thing I was confused about is like who the survivor was in the first one. It was Sally, who was Franklin's sister. So that's why Franklin was the only like corpse of like Lefty's family that he saw there, because Sally was the other survivor. The sister was the other survivor. Um, so she survived. She was picked up on the roadside and everything. She said she had broken out a window in hell, had like told about the entire situation and everything. Yeah, she mentions her brother, her friends hacked up for barbecue. Yeah. But it says then she sank into catatonia. So after the events of everything, the stress, the fear, everything just put her into a catatonic state. So she survived, but she was put into a catatonic state. So she, like, do you really count that as survival? Honestly. Um, so, okay, I wanted a little bit of clarification on that just to make sure of something then. Okay. I'm getting these clarifications as we go through here. um, but yeah, so this was a lot more entertaining than the first. I hope that the future ones kind of keep up this tone, or at least somewhat similar. Because I really don't want them to take themselves too seriously like the first one did. It just didn't work, especially just with Leatherface. It's just like you can't have Leatherface and seriousness at the same time. Let's be honest here. You need to have a little goofy. You need to be weird and silly and everything. It just works. Um, but yeah, I guess tell me in the comments below what you thought of this. And we do have a lot of other great content on the channel to check out. A lot of great shows that we react to between Monday and Friday. We react to YouTube videos on Monday as well, which are donation rewards from subscribers and viewers like you. Every Saturday and Sunday, we react to movies, and those are recorded during the week, but I put them up on the weekends so that everybody, or that every day, has some kind of reaction to be posted. We are also currently playing through Spider-Man 2 on the PS5. Parts to that are put up every Tuesday and Thursday, so look forward to more of that in the future. And just a lot of great stuff as the schedule changes and rearranges and, goes throughout its little updates and whatnot as we go along. But there's always going to be something for everyone, always going to be something that you all can enjoy. Hope you find something to entertain you. In the meantime, like I said, let me know your thoughts down below. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.